Garrett Wilson wants to stay a New York Jet, but it's looking like for a long-term extension, at least according to one NFL insider, the Jets are going to have to pay him $30 million per season or more. Is it worth it? Jets draft talk is heating up. The NFL Combine with the drills kicks off tomorrow. A lot to get into. We'll cover that and much more all coming up here on a Wednesday edition of NY Fly Jets Talk, joined by our guy Matt O'Leary on the show in his weekly spot.
J-E-T-S, Jets, let's go.
Jets wide receiver Wesley Walker. Wesley, how you doing today? ESPN writer, Mr. Rich Cimini, Jets reporter for The Athletic, Mr. Zach Rosenblatt, Hall of Famer, and Jets legend, Mr. Marty Lyons.
Your host, Connor Long. J-E-T-S.
Almost played the intro twice there by accident, but we caught it in time. Appreciate you all tuning in. Make sure you smash that like button. You are subscribed to the channel. I'm your host, Connor Long, here for another edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, this time on a Wednesday, February 26, 2025. Like I said, smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We don't draw our winner for the membership raffle till February 28th, the last day of the month. But today is your last opportunity to get in on the raffle for this month. Throw the ticker on down below. Every $2.99 super chat and every membership gifted will give you a ticket into our raffle prize we're giving away this month, included Joe Klecko signed jersey, a Mark Gastineau signed jersey, a Bill Parcells signed photo, a free item from our merch store, and a channel emoji. Get in on that if you haven't already. The more tickets you have, the higher chance you have to win. And if you missed the announcement, well, here it is. Boy Green and I are proud to announce we're doing a live watch party for the first round of the 2025 NFL Draft. Thursday, April 24th, 2025, starts at 7:15 p.m. Be there. You're not going to want to miss it. Former and current players, former general managers, analysts, content creators, radio broadcast personalities joining us and much more. It isn't possible without you guys. And, of course, our sponsors at Shoreline Sports Cards and Homage. So check those guys out at Shoreline Sports Cards, LI on Instagram and whatnot. And then, obviously, homage.com for the best vintage sports apparel. But nevertheless, let's bring on our guest for today's show, joining us in his weekly spot, the second week in a row where we're lucky to be able to do this. Introducing Matt O'Leary here on the program. Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, trying to follow along with everything going on at Combine Week. It feels like the page is turning to 2025 and excited for another offseason.
Matt, I'm going to start with some of the biggest news really overall today from Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic, indicating that Garrett Wilson, he's since the Jets have moved on from Aaron Rodgers, he wants to stay a Jet long term, but it might come at the price of having to pay him, over $30 million for a longer term extension. First thing for you is, are you willing to pay him $30 million a year, that Amon-Ra St. Brown, that Brandon Ayuk type contract where it's looking like 4 for $120? Personally, I'd be more open to a Jalen Waddle type extension where it's $20 to $25 million a season, that 3-year, $90 million range or so. Where are you on the whole Garrett Wilson situation when it comes to paying him?
I think it is going to be closer to that $30 million for Garrett Wilson. I think that's just the going rate for wide receivers right now. And I think Garrett is a true number one wide receiver. The production isn't quite where Amon-Ra St. Brown's was the year before he got Brandon Ayuk. You can make that same case as well. But with the first 3 years in the league, with him putting up 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, with the quarterback play that he's had, how he seems like a building block for this team, drafted here, has been as good as advertised. I think you kind of got to do it. And with the cap going up, these wide receiver numbers are going to get crazy. And apparently Jamar Chase, too. The Bengals said earlier this week that they're going to make him the highest paid non-quarterback. So the wide receiver market, the money's only going up there.
So, Matt, my next question to you then is, when do you want to pay Garrett Wilson? Are you comfortable extending him, let's say, right when the new league year opens, right when free agency happens, boom, you ink him to an extension? Or to potentially you want to wait till next season, get another year out of him, see what you have? Because keep in mind, you have him under contract this year. You have the 5th-year option on him in 2026. And then after that, you could really use the franchise tag twice if you get that desperate. Ideally, I don't know if I feel completely comfortable paying him today. I feel the most comfortable among those 4 guys with Garrett Wilson when it comes to signing them to a long-term extension. But preferably, I'd like to wait till next offseason before I really give Garrett the bag.
Okay. I'm comfortable paying him now. I think you kind of just get it over with before the price skyrockets even more with
Mhm.
the next year to do it. I think it's something that would, keep him happy. And Rosenblatt kind of mentioned that in his answer with like, yes, obviously he wants to win, and that's something that he genuinely cares about. But I think it would have him feeling better about the Jets' future with him signed up long term and knowing that he's going to be here for a while.
Speaking of making him happy, Matt, moving on from Aaron Rodgers certainly made Garrett Wilson happy because towards the end of the season, when Buddy Ball was being played between Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, reports were coming out that Garrett Wilson was going to seek a trade. Super unhappy with the situation. How much of a role do you think Rodgers' departure from the Jets organization ultimately plays in Garrett Wilson now all of a sudden wanting to stay a Jet long term?
I don't know how strong that is. Like, I do think down the stretch, Aaron Rodgers played a lot with Devontae Adams. It was going to him often, and Garrett Wilson was kind of playing second fiddle. And I don't doubt that he was frustrated by it. I don't really know how much of a difference it would make if it's like Aaron Rodgers or Tyrod or some other veteran as the quarterback for next year. But if that was on the table and you had to choose between a 41, almost 42-year-old Rodgers or Garrett Wilson, who still hasn't hit his prime yet, I think you're taking Garrett Wilson every time. So they decided to move on. If moving on from Aaron Rodgers also keeps the younger guys happy, then so be it.
Exactly. That's what I was saying a few weeks ago, Matt, when they initially made the decision and it came out Garrett Wilson was happy. The Jets were moving on. My thought process was great. I'm happy that Garrett Wilson, it adds, he's more excited that the Jets are moving on from Aaron Rodgers than keeping him. However, on the flip side, I don't want to be making decisions just to cater to Garrett Wilson. Like, I hope that played no role in the Jets' decision to move on from Rodgers. Matt, we're hearing a role that was played in the Jets' decision to move on from Aaron Rodgers was Woody Johnson. We've heard mixed reports, some saying that he completely left the decision up to Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, and then others that have been coming out more recently indicating the decision was already made before the Jets hired Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. Where do you sit there? Do you think it's somewhere in the middle? Do you think he left the decision completely up to Aaron Glenn or Darren Muji, or he had that decision made before he hired these guys?
Yeah, I really hope that he left it up to Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. That's what he said he was going to do at the opening press conference. And, I hope that's something that he sticks his word to and doesn't change his mind on it because, I've said for a while, I think in order for the Jets to be successful and turn this thing around, they need to let the guys that they hire do their job and not have an owner that meddles. That would be a change of character for Woody and easier said than done for him, I think. But I'm hoping that that's the case and that it was just Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji coming to that decision. What makes me feel a little bit better is it seems like the other candidates who were interviewing for the GM job felt the same way.
Yep.
So I don't think it was like this crazy
Mm.
outlier take.
What were your thoughts overall, Matt, on when Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji addressed the media at the Combine yesterday? I know it wasn't as flashy as the introductory press conference. There weren't any crazy quotes that came out of it. But for me, I took that as a bonus. I'm happy it wasn't all that flashy. It didn't create any headlines. I thought Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, unlike what we've seen with Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas in prior years, these guys came prepared. Darren Muji, who spoke to reporters first, you could tell he had an opening statement prepared. He knew what the reporters were going to ask him about Aaron Rodgers, and he was not going to get caught red-handed, and there were going to be headlines about him in the New York Post the next day, and I think same goes for Aaron Glenn. So I thought it was a win when they spoke to the media on Tuesday.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think out of the two, Aaron Glenn, I enjoyed a little bit more because Darren Muji really didn't give you a whole lot of anything. But with Aaron Glenn, I think my favorite answer that he gave was when he was talking about Quinnen Williams and how he talked to him after the tweet to the reaction of Aaron Rodgers, no longer being a New York Jet. And I kind of like that he said, we're going to handle this in-house. It won't be the first tough decision that I make, but I'm happy to talk with the guys and, just go forward with it being my decision.
Matt, going back to the 2022 rookie draft class, Breece Hall, the trade talks are heating up. Could the Jets potentially try to orchestrate even a draft day deal for Breece Hall? Where do you stand on that matter?
I would not trade Breece Hall. I would have him play out his fourth year with the New York Jets. When you look at the running back contracts, you don't have to usually go crazy money. And that to me would be my franchise tag likely candidate a year from now. I hope that he would ball out and have a really nice, season in year 4. I know his stats were a little bit underwhelming this past year, but I'm not selling my Breece Hall stock. I think you're just creating another hole for yourself. And with Tanner Engstrand and Aaron Glenn coming in here, I'm assuming that they're going to take some elements from the Detroit Lions offense that they ran. And they used a lot of, multiple backs, and they had a big bruising guy, and they had someone who could, change the game with, the speed and the pass catching ability. I think they're going to put a focal point on the run game, and I think Breece Hall's a part of it.
Matt, 3 and a 5 on draft day for Breece Hall. What do you say?
Thanks. I'll hang up and just
really
keep my I don't third round pick is nothing for me. You're to draft another Malachi Corley instead of having Breece Hall.
Matt, the way I view this whole Breece Hall situation, I'm a really big fan of Breece Hall. Have his jersey. He's one of my favorite Jets. Ultimately, I don't think he's getting a second contract with this team when all is said and done. The running back market is very, very low now across the NFL, and that seems to have Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, and Isaiah Davis waiting in the pipelines for once Breece Hall ultimately, what I think, leaves the organization in a year or two. Those two guys are ready to step in. This is a super, super strong running back class. I'm really high on a lot of the guys I've seen recently. Obviously, Ashton Genty in the first round, but Omarion Hampton from North Carolina, Quinshon Judkins, 6 foot, 219 pounds, is my third running back in this year's class from Ohio State. You have a Trayvon Henderson, you have Cam Scatterbo, you have Caleb Johnson, Dylan Sampson, just to name a few. So I think if you can get a third round pick this year and a fifth round pick for Breece Hall, someone who, let's be real, Matt, hasn't lived up ultimately to the second round hype. I think he's done great things with the Jets. When you can get him in space, he's a really, really solid back, over 1,500 all-purpose yards in 2023. But has Breece Hall really hit that next level where you're like, wow, this guy is a keeper? I think if you get a third round pick, replace him with a Quinshon Judkins, a Trayvon Henderson, someone who's going to be more elusive in the backfield, someone who has proven to have better vision throughout the entirety of their college career, I think that's worth it. Ultimately, again, also picking up a day 3 pick as well. So my whole thought process with Breece is he's not getting a second contract with this team. You might as well move on and pick up a few draft picks. Do you think he will get a second contract with this team is my question to you.
I think it depends on how this upcoming season goes. I wouldn't say that it's completely off the table, but if he plays well, I'm definitely open to the idea of giving Breece Hall a second contract. It's not like he's reaching the second contract age at 27 or 28 years old. He's, going to turn 24 this year. And the running back deals aren't for crazy money unless you're Christian McCaffrey, which I don't think he's going to get paid like Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley. But I would be willing to sign him to another, it's probably going to be something like a 3-year deal. That's really a 2-year deal with guaranteed money. And then you just keep him through his age 26 season. And at that point, maybe it's a better conversation of moving off of him for a younger option.
Matt, Sauce Gardner. When do the Jets extend him? We're on the topic of the 2022 rookie, so we might as well stay with it. Sauce Gardner is someone I think deserves a long-term extension with this team. If I had to, him and Garrett are the two guys that I think you need to get done one way or another. I know a lot of people are going to have the recency bias of, well, he's coming off not so great of a season. I don't call it a poor season whatsoever because you look at the metrics, you watch the last 12 games of the season. Sauce Gardner's 2024 season would be marked as a career year for the average cornerback at the NFL level. It just wasn't particularly up to Sauce Gardner's standard, which for all we knew was a first team All-Pro throughout his first 2 seasons in the league. I think Sauce Gardner is still worth top dollar at the cornerback position. I want to pay him before Devin Stingley because one of the Jets actually gone ahead and set the market for a position, and the Jets could do that right now with Sauce Gardner before someone who was selected the pick before him in Derek Stingley.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out because both guys from the same draft class, obviously, both do extensions. And, that kind of happened with Quinn and Williams. They let some other guys sign, Dexter Lawrence as an example. So the market was already set for them. With Sauce, they would, or really any of these guys, they'd have the opportunity to reset the market. I think he's a really damn good football player. He wants to be here. He's been very vocal about that this offseason, that he wants to be a Jet for life. And I hope it works out that way.
For sure. I don't get the recency bias, the fact that, okay, he wasn't a first-team All-Pro this past season, you might as well wait another year to pay him. I'm in that same boat of just set the market right now, get it over with. I want him to be a Jet long-term no matter what. He's a top 3 cornerback in the league in my eyes, even coming off of what was not so great of a season for his standards. So that's where I am on Sauce Gardner. One last point here, Matt, before we let you go. Woody Johnson, the NFLPA report cards came out today. Overall, the Jets ranked 29th out of 32nd. Woody Johnson got an F for ownership. That was the worst grade overall across the NFL, was really low when it came to owners setting a culture. At the introductory press conference for Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, Matt, Woody Johnson made it known, I got to look in the mirror and I got to be a better owner. Do you think this report card that came out from the NFLPA today motivates Woody Johnson in any sense to be a better owner?
If this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is, because
Preach.
the Jets ranked very poorly in a lot of categories, not just ownership. But some of it is on Woody, because he's the one who would have to shell out the money for upgraded facilities, training staff, and so on. So, yeah, hopefully, you take a hard look at these reports and see how the league and how your players view you, and make the necessary changes. Because yes, being an owner who stays out of it is the step one. Step two is also investing in the things around the team to make it the best possible environment for your players.
Matt, I'm going to throw a tough one on you right here before we let you go. Who do the Jets draft at 7? Fire away.
Oof. Way too early. Prediction will be Tet McMillan as the pick.
I'm so high on Ted McMillan, Matt. He's my number 1 player realistically for the Jets to covet. 6'5", 212 pounds. That guy who, it's not even a 50-50 ball when he goes up there. His contested catch rate was 60% this past season. I think he's that big body who could come in and replace Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard once the Jets officially move on from him. Line up on the outside, play opposite Garrett Wilson. I think that's the player the Jets really, really need to help unlock the wide receiver room. Not to mention, wide receiver is also a significant position in need for the Jets, in my opinion, based on what all the other guys have shown on the depth chart behind Garrett Wilson. Obviously, after they officially move on from Lazard and Adams, Garrett's really the only rosterable player, if you think about it, from what they've shown throughout their entirety of their career in that wide receiver room. So I think you go ahead, you try to draft 1 or even 2 wide receivers, whether that's Ted McMillan in the first, and then a Jalen Noel from Iowa State in the 3rd or 4th round. And then in free agency, Darius Slayton's a name I really like, has a great rapport with Tyrod Taylor. Quarterback proof would be coming from the Giants, a team that has struggled mightily over the past few seasons. That's where I am. Matt, thoughts on Tyler Warren at 7? I didn't want Brock Bowers at 10 last year, but watching Tyler Warren tape day in and day out, every day he grows on me. I'm really, really starting to like Tyler Warren. 6'6", 260 pounds, yak machine. I'm a huge fan of Warren.
Yeah, it's hard not to be a fan of Tyler Warren. I'd be really excited if the Jets added him also, because you look at the Jets tight end room, no Tyler Conklin under contract anymore. He's a free agent. Jeremy Ruckert hasn't developed like the Jets thought he would, and suddenly that looks like a much bigger hole than we originally thought. And Warren's a damn good football player, and I think it would make a lot of sense if the Jets went that route as well.
Everyone smash the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Matt O'Leary, Connor Long, here with you on a Wednesday edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. Follow Matt on all social medias if you haven't already, at Matt O'Leary NY. I'm going to stay on here a little longer, answer your questions, take your calls. But before we do so, we have to say goodbye to Matt here on this Wednesday evening. Matt, appreciate you hopping on as always in your weekly spot. You're the best. You got any final thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate hanging out with you for a little bit here, a little Wednesday night. And
yes, sir.
To flip the calendar to March and get into free agency.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt O'Leary checking in here on the show. Follow him on all social media platforms. Like I said, at Matt O'Leary NY, if you haven't already. One of the best Jets content creators on the internet. Shoot him a sub. Shoot him a follow. Appreciate you sticking with us, though. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Still trying to hit 2,000 subscribers, guys, by the start of the NFL draft. 2,000. We're about like a little more than 350 away. We're at 355 subscribers away. So please hit subscribe, completely free. Helps us grow significantly. 31 of you watching on YouTube, only 21 likes. So please hit the like button. If you haven't already, keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Someone wants more raffle tickets before the raffle ends after today's show. Rick Kent comes in with 10 gifted memberships. That's 10 more raffle tickets for you, Rick, my friend. Thank you so much for all your support. 10 more raffle tickets here. And then, like I mentioned earlier, your last chance to get in on our membership raffle. The winner will be drawn on the 28th. Your last chance is to get in today. After the memberships you gift that don't go through today, they count towards March. So you have the today, and that's it to get into our membership raffle for February. A Joe Klecko signed jersey, a Mark Gastineau signed jersey, Bill Parcells signed photo, a free item from our merch store, channel emoji. Rick Kent, thanks so much for all your support. Appreciate you as always. My friend, if you hear your name called, you got a membership from Rick, Andrew Cardolin, Daniel Diaz, Joey R., Papa Jet, and boom, that's it. So the rest of the memberships will get distributed. It seems we've maxed out. So if you guys want to support the rest of the show, another way to get into our membership raffle, same ticket. Every $2.99 super chat gives you a ticket. So, $50 super chat will get you X amount of tickets, something of that nature. $20 get you X amount of tickets. So that's the best way to support. Moving forward, Jeffrey R. continues to bombard his way to first place at the top of our membership raffle. Comes through with 20 gifted memberships. Jeffrey, I'll update that now because I don't need to mess with the places because you're in commanding lead of first place. That is now 220 gifted memberships for you on the month. Jeffrey, thanks so much for all your support here on the program. You are the best. Thanks so much. Appreciate you coming in here. As always, like I said, keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Call into the show. Pin comment at the top of the chat. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Our guy, Mr. Jet Skis, in the building. When should we go with quarterback? Third or fourth round? I like Dart, Milrow, Kyle McCord. What you say, Connor? I'm not a huge Dart fan. I'm okay. Milrow, I would be okay with in the fifth round. Kyle McCord, though, is someone I'm really, really high on. He's my quarterback 4 in this year's draft class. My comp for him right now is Jared Goff. Very, very mechanically sound as an overall thrower. Quick, snappy release. Has a lot of rhythm when he plays in the pocket. Accurate pocket passer overall. Knows when and when not to add velocity, touch, and layers overall to his ball. 6'3", 220 pounds. Traditional build for a quarterback will be 23 in September. Look, I would like him in the third or fourth round. Overall, it depends who's on the board, though. It really does. Like, for example, I'm not going to pass on a, Deone Walker from Kentucky, a huge interior run stuffing defensive tackle, to take a quarterback. Only at the right price. If that means you want to take a flyer on round 6, you want to take a flyer in round 6 on Curtis Rourke, the quarterback out of Indiana, so be it. I want to take a quarterback when the time is right. I don't want to reach on a quarterback. That is rule numero uno for me. I do not want to reach on a quarterback in this year's draft class. That's what I will say there, Mr. Jetskis. Appreciate the comments as always. Rick Kent, who just gifted 10 memberships. Rick, appreciate you tuning in as always. Keep the questions coming, though. Like I said, I'll get to those. Call into the show, pin comment at the top of the chat. I like that Muji has been playing it close to the vest. He doesn't need to give up any details of any plan they may have. Rick, great point. That's something I mentioned with Matt just a few minutes ago. Like, I liked that Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn came prepared. They were very, very bland overall with their answers, and they didn't create any negative headlines. That's rule number 1 for me. Just because, but we remember the amount of times that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh would speak to the media unprepared, giving these crazy answers. Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, they came there for a business trip down to going to Indiana for the combine. They were there. They were focused. They knew the questions they were going to be asked. That's number 1 for me. They weren't caught red-handed with the Aaron Rodgers situation. When Darren Muji got to the podium, he released a statement on the Jets moving on from Aaron Rodgers. So I agree 1,000% with everything Darren Muji was saying and how he addressed the media. And then Aaron Glenn basically came up there and he did his thing. Muji, spoke to you guys about the Aaron Rodgers situation. That's it. We're putting it past us. And now, while fans are going to continue to talk about the Aaron Rodgers thing for who knows years to come, because it's going to be if the Jets go 8-9 next season, what if they had Aaron Rodgers? What if they had Aaron Rodgers? What would that be? I think this is the last thing we're going to hear. This is the last we're going to hear from Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji when it comes to Aaron Rodgers, which I really like. Overall, I'm a huge fan of the decision, but overall, I like the way how they handled it in the sense. At the introductory press conference, they knew that was going to be a main focal point, addressed it there, boom. Pushed it away. And now at the combine, dealt with it and move on. I think they did a great way of handling the situation instead of giving nonsense answers and just feeding into the media's nonsense. Caden, don't pay Sauce till next year. Why? Set the market for the cornerbacks right now. Why wouldn't you want to pay Sauce this year? He's shown his ceiling. He's a first-team freaking All-Pro. That's what he showed throughout his first 2 years in the league. What obviously wasn't a career year for him, but his numbers last year and watching him the last 12 weeks of the season, that was a career year for any cornerback. Why do you want to wait till next season when the cornerback market has the potential to skyrocket significantly? Pay him now, make him one of the highest paid corners, He clearly wants to be here. Clearly. Why wouldn't you want to pay Sauce Gardner? Caden says, because if you clarified there, Sauce is another trash year, then he turns washed. LOL. Don't call last year a trash year when he was a top 10, when he was a top 5, top 10 corner. This is not a trash year. Compared to his standard of first-team All-Pro, his first 2 seasons in the league, maybe that's not as great to up to par for him. However, do not call it a trash year because that is not. You know how many quarterbacks would kill? How many quarterbacks in the NFL would kill to have just one season, the entirety of their career, what Sauce Gardner's looked like last season? Wasn't a trash season by all means. He was an above average. He was a top 5, top 10 cornerback. Come on, guys. Come on. Mr. Jetskis, I feel like Tyler Warren. You heard me talking with Matt about him. I'm a huge fan of Tyler Warren overall. Huge fan of Tyler Warren. So again, if he's there at 7, the price is right. Fire away. Aaron Glenn, Darren Mushi have him high on their boards. Why not? Why not? Tight end's a position of need. You don't have one guy really under contract next season at the tight end position. Tyler Warren's on the board. He's a top tight end. Take him. Take him. Why not? And still trust in Aaron Glenn and Darren Mushi to come in and make the right decisions. You have to trust these guys who are going to come in and make the right decisions here. So I don't get why fans are like tight end. It's not 10 years ago where tight end wasn't viewed as a premium position, and now it's too rich to take them in the first round. Tight end is starting to become a premium position where now we see them go in the first rounds. Basically, every year's draft we've seen in the past few seasons. So don't count out tight end for the Jets by any means, especially Tyler Warren at pick 7. Like I said, keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Pinned comment at the top of the chat. If you want to call in, get on the air, talk all things New York Jets. See a bunch of you in the chat who call in sometimes. So if you want to come in, you want to hang out, you want to talk some Jets, well, just click that pinned comment at the top of the chat. We'll get you on screen. If you don't want to call in, though, you just want to contribute in the chat, keep the questions coming. We'll get to those. Smash the like. Make sure you are subscribed. Can't thank you enough for all your support. We're back tomorrow. I know normally the show here is at 8 p.m. every night, but we have to make a special exception. Tomorrow, let me just check the exact time. Stand by here quickly. Exact time. We will be joined by our draft analyst, Colt Thompson, tomorrow at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So instead of our daily 8 p.m. edition of NY Flight Jets Talk, we will be starting at 7:15 with Colt Thompson, NFL draft analyst, host of Just Saying It. So looking forward to that. Just wanted to update you guys there on the start time. Listen to Infrared, guys. Pound that like button. Appreciate you tuning in. Infrared Jets is always channel member. Give him a sub. One of the best Jets content creators on the internet. David D, our Lions fan, comes in with a $10 super chat. Some more raffle tickets for you. Your last chance to get in the raffle is today's show, or else your tickets starting tomorrow will go until March's raffle. We're not drawing the winner, though, of the raffle until Friday's show, at the end of Friday's show. But David D, appreciate the hell out of you. $10 super chat. Connor, if the Jets brass view Kyle McCord even close to a Jared Goff comp, the Jets are going to draft him earlier than practically anyone expects. I have an early second round. Early to mid, second round grade on Kyle McCord. Look, I don't want the Jets particularly to take him in the second round. I would prefer to wait overall third or fourth round if you really, really want to make a push at Kyle McCord. Just reminds me so much of Jared Goff from a size perspective, the way he stands in the pocket. Same thing when it comes to quick snappy release. They struggle when pressure bears down. So many comps for me, David, to Jared Goff from Kyle McCord. So that's where I am right now. Appreciate the $10. Some more raffle tickets for you. Let's see. Keep the questions coming. Appreciate you guys as always. Jets Worldwide Snowball. Hunter, who do you think his final word on player acquisition? Glenn or Muji? Great question. I think Glenn is going to have a lot of personnel say. It's so hard to say, though, because I'm not in the building every day. If I had to make a guess, it's probably Glenn, because I think Glenn is going to really, really be big on how is this player going to fit my scheme. I think Mushi's going to try to handle more of the financial stuff, but I think Glenn is going to be really, really big on when it comes to how are these players going to fit my scheme. I think that's something he's going to really hone in on as the Jets look to add players, obviously, this offseason through the draft or free agency. Great question. Overall, I think it's going to be Glenn. I think Glenn's going to have final say. David, Tanner Angstrom will pound the table if he sees Kyle McCord like you do. I hope he does. I hope he sees Kyle McCord like I do, and I hope he pounds the table. Jack Talks Jets, our guy channel member in the building. Jack, appreciate you as always. Says, what do you see the Jets doing at wide receiver, whether it be at the draft or free agency? Shoot Jack a sub, shoot Jack a follow. Appreciate the question as always. Draft the names to watch: Ted McMillan in the first round, Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Royals, some later round names to watch. I think they're going to draft one or two guys and then sign. I think there's a chance the Jets could add up to 4 receivers through the draft and free agency this offseason. I really do. I just don't think – I don't know how Aaron Glenn and Darren Moshi can look at that position room and have the utmost confidence in it based on, what it overall looks like and what the guys behind Garrett Wilson have proved. So if I was Aaron Glenn, Darren Moshi, this is what I'd try to do. Draft Ted McMillan in the first round. Draft Nick Nash out of San Jose State, whose numbers are insane. Top 3 in every metric last year in about the 5th round. And then you sign like a Darius Slayton, a Keenan Allen in free agency. That's what I would do, personally. Jacob Cooper. Garrett hasn't established himself as a true one. Looks like a good 2 and a strong slot guy at this point. He's been quarterback proof. Look at who he's been playing with, Jacob. Imagine if he had that same rapport with, for example, imagine if Jared Goff with his quarterback and had that same rapport that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff have together. He's played with, I think, 11 different quarterbacks. 11 different quarterbacks. Trevor Siemian, Tim Boyle, all these crazy, crazy names. Crazy names. Zach Wilson, Tyrod Taylor, Aaron Rodgers. I don't think it's 11, actually. I don't know why I said 11. I think it's 7. 7, that's what it is. I didn't mean to say 11 there. Don't come after me in the comments. There were 7. But still, 7 quarterbacks in 3 seasons? That's insane. It's insane. And you're saying he's not a true one? He's not a true one? He's had over 1,000 yards with all those different guys, and he's not a true one? Someone who's made arguably one of the greatest catches of all time, who's a great target in the red zone, who's the definition of quarterback proof. He's not a true number 1, though. Okay. Does not make any sense. Jack, I'm interested to see what Malachi Corley can do with this season with the position of wide receiver 2 open now. I don't think they're going to instill him right away, Jack, though, as the wide receiver 2 when he played a handful of snaps this past season. I can't see the Jets doing that. He played a handful of snaps, literally dropped the ball before he crossed the goal line in the end zone. I don't see how Aaron Glenn can look at him and say you're going to be inserted as our wide receiver 2 day 1. Doesn't make sense to me. Jalen Walker is growing on me with his versatility and Wilkes defense. I like Jalen Walker in a trade back scenario, though. I'm not too big on him right away at pick 7, depending on who's on the board. Jack, even though I don't think Corley's a wide receiver 2. So why do you want to slot him there? He's a depth piece at best for me after what we saw. Everyone follow Snowball. Sorry I didn't mention the channel today, Snowball. Everyone give Snowball a sub. Jets Worldwide. Wheel of Misfortune. What's the other one? Match Game. I've been on Match Game before, so give Jets Worldwide, Snowball, and Johnny Boy a sub. Appreciate you as always. Channel member here on the program, too, so we like to help out our channel members. So give Jets Worldwide, Johnny, and Snowball. Pop over there quickly. Hit them with the sub. Hit them with the follow. Then come right back over here talking New York Jets every single freaking night at 8 p.m. EST. Caden says, you see my comments. What comments are you referring to, Caden? I don't think there were any direct questions. Oh, here it is. I look at the one for, okay, here. I look for the ones with question marks. Sorry, Caden. When do the Jets interview Dart? I don't know. I don't have any intel there. Who's going tomorrow for the combine? It's kickers and defense. It's kickers and someone else. I know that. NFL, great question. NFL combine schedule. Let's see. Let's check this out for you. Stand by. What is tomorrow? The 27th? Can't find it. Oh, stand by, sorry. NFL combine schedule positions. I have no idea. Thursday. See, it's not showing me. Sorry, Caden. I'm going to try to find this for you. Kickers, defensive linemen, and linebackers. There it is. Tomorrow at the combine. So kickers, linebackers, and defensive linemen are among those working out at the combine tomorrow. Those are the names I was looking for. Where were we in the chat? Jack says, Connor, you see Devontae Garrett as our wide receiver one last year. Again, a great question. Garrett, because he finished 4th in targets. Depends overall. Overall, it was Garrett, but what stretch? The first 7 games, it was Garrett. The last 10, it was Devontae. Overall, though, I thought it was Garrett because he finished 4th in targets. JoJo, tight end quality is better than receivers in this year's draft. Could add 2 tight ends to make up for the receiver production. Yeah, I mean, you're talking Tyler Warren, Luke Lachey in one of the later rounds, Oronde Gadsden from Syracuse, Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame, Colston Loveland from Michigan, Terrence Ferguson, Oregon, Elijah Arroyo, Miami. A lot of tight end names. Just to name a few there. A lot of Harold Fannin from Bowling Green. So many tight ends who are really solid in this year's draft class. So tight end quality is certainly deep in this year's draft. David, Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown have workouts with each other in the offseason, great football chemistry. Agree 1,000%. That goes back to my point of them having a great rapport. By the way, for those who are avid, just overall podcasts, football podcast, sports podcast listeners who are in here supporting the show, appreciate you as always. But have you listened to the St. Brown Brothers podcast? If you haven't, it's a must listen. I'm not sponsored. I wish I was sponsored by them, but we're not sponsored by them. But I'm telling you, you got to check that out. I watch that every week. They air every single Wednesday, early in the morning. I watch them. I listen to them Wednesday evening, and then occasionally Wednesday mornings. Listen to them. It's such a great podcast. Shower draft Warren, Gadsden, and Evans. So Tyler Warren, Oronde Gadsden, Mitchell Evans. So Penn State, Syracuse, Notre Dame. I don't think they're going to draft 3 tight ends. At most, I think they're going to draft 2. I just think they're going to draft 2 at most. That's where I am. Jax is better than New Heights. In my opinion, it is. I'm not the biggest New Heights fan. I'll say that. I'm not the biggest New Heights fan. For me, it's fun because it's like they get great guests too. They get a lot of the Lions players. A lot of overall NFL players. I highly recommend checking it out. Yeah, David says they have great guests. 1,000%. Great show overall. Great pod. For sure. Highly recommend checking that out on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to it every day. Appreciate you tuning in. Smash the like, subscribe. Going to wrap up here soon. So last chance to get your questions in. Last chance to call into the show with the pinned comment at the top of the chat. Like I said, make sure you smash that like button. You are subscribed to the channel. Appreciate your support as always here on the program. So last chance, question, comments, thoughts, call in. Tomorrow we're back, not at 8 p.m. We'll be back 7:15 with our draft analyst for the first time this draft season, Cole Thompson, host of Just Saying It. So joined by him. And then tomorrow's Thursday, Friday, 8 p.m., we're joined by good old Jeremy from Jets Chaos. So stay tuned for that. And then obviously our weekly show with Tigo on Saturday. And then Sunday, stay tuned. Some special plans we're cooking up for Sunday's show. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned. Appreciate you as always. Infrared's his brother Connor. Would you trade back twice in this 2025 draft class? If the opportunity presented itself, yes, I just don't think that's realistic. I've been on the record saying I would potentially even trade back into the second round, early second round. If that means you could pick up a 1 next year and a second round pick or 2, and then a few day 3 picks at the right price, I would trade into the second round. Again, I think this draft class is really getting the label overall as top heavy. I think it's the complete opposite. I think the meat and potatoes of this draft overall comes in the second round. So if you're telling me I could pick up a 1 next year or 2026. Pick up, obviously get that early second round pick and pick up maybe another day 3 pick or 2. I'd slide back into the second round. Twice I would be open for, if you don't slide back too far, I would be open for that. I just don't think it's realistic. I don't think I can see the Jets trading back twice. That's where I am. So great question. Great question there by Infrared. Going to wrap up here soon. So your last chance to get in our membership raffle for this entire month. It's going to run out here soon. And then your last chance to get your questions in. Appreciate you as always. Appreciate you tuning in here on the program as always. Guys, the best, like I said, back tomorrow, 7:15 p.m. Cole Thompson, 8 p.m. on Friday with Jeremy from Jets Chaos, which if you gifted a membership, tune into Friday's show where you became a member, you gifted a membership, you contributed by $2.99 Super Chat. Tune into Friday night show. especially at the end, because that's where we are. That's where we're drawing the winner for the raffle. So I appreciate you as always. Jimmy, I'm surprised Connor's answer wasn't depends who's on the board. It's a fair point though. What's this? Do people say, do you trade back at 7 or not? The answer is it depends who's on the board. If Ted McMillan's available, you take him. If McMillan, Carter, Sanders, Ward, Hunter, and who's that? Mason Grammer off the board, and you're looking at Will Campbell, Ashton Genty, and Luther Bird, and yes, you trade back. So I know my answer could be that at times, but it's the truth for me. It's the truth for me. Jack, if we go with Tyrod as a bridge this year, what are your thoughts on possibly getting Archer Nussmeier as our quarterback? For me, I have mixed feelings. I still got to see what they do next year. But what does next season look like? This season look like is my question. I think Tyrod, no matter what he does, pretty much is a one-year bridge option for the Jets. When it comes to drafting a quarterback next year, Jack, I haven't gone too deep into that. My whole thing with Arch, I watched some of his high school tape. We haven't seen anything from him at the college level. So the fact that it's just a given he's going to come out next year is BS to me. I think there's a strong chance that he stays back in school for a second year if he's not like the consensus number one generational talent after one full season at the college level. Kate, imagine the Jets draft Elijah Arroyo because he's super fast and Aaron Glenn wants speedy dudes. You're going to have to get him early. You're going to have to get him in the early, probably the mid-third round, I'd say. He's going to be gone by the time you really get to 92. So early mid-third round, I think you need to get if you want to draft Elijah Arroyo. And the Jets go from picking at 42 to 92. So the Jets, they need to either accumulate another pick via trade. So I think that's the only scenario where they could potentially land Elijah Arroyo unless they really, really reach on him early in the second round, which I highly doubt. So that's where I am on Arroyo. Appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you smash that like, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all your support. As always, going to wrap things up here on this Wednesday evening edition of NY Flight Jets Talk. That'll do it for me. I'm your host, Connor Long, signing off. JTS, Jets, Jets, Jets.